This is section 5.1, part 3. I want to do 10a to the 7th times negative 4a to the 3rd. Now I'm going to write out a step you probably will not need to write out. What we generally do is we just multiply the pieces we can. And the reason we can do that is because of the commutative property of multiplication and the associative property of multiplication. I can mix these things up however I want to. So the step you probably would not need to write down would be 10 times negative 4 times a to the 7th times a to the 3rd. Okay, and then you just multiply the pieces you can. We can multiply 10 times negative 4 to get negative 40. And then what do we have right here? A to the 7th, a cubed. That is property number 1. We have the same base, even the same letter here, and we add up those exponents. So this would be a to the 10th. And that was property number 1 again. This next problem is basically the same. We've just got 2 negatives in here. Now, I'm not going to write out this step this time because I think you can skip it. Negative 6 times negative 7 is going to be positive 42. I have the same base here, p and p. So I get to add up these because this is property number 1 again, same base, multiplication. 5 plus 5 is 10. And this was property number 1. Okay. Let's look here. 8 to the 3rd to the 6th. Let's look for a pattern. I have a base, which is my 8, raised to an exponent, raised to an exponent. Okay. This property says when I have a power raised to a power, I multiply those exponents. So I'm going to be using property number 2 here. And we keep the base the same. So this is 8 to the 3 times 6, which is 8 to the 18th power. Now you might be wondering, when do I get to leave it alone and when do I actually need to write out the number? First of all, my math lab is pretty specific. If it tells you to leave it in exponential form, you're going to leave it like this. Sometimes when the number is fairly small and something you can do in your head, they'll want you to do it. If you get 5 squared, they're generally going to want you to put 25. But these numbers grow very quickly. 8 to the 18th power is too big for your calculator. Okay? All right, so let's try this one. What do I have here? Okay, I have 11x. Remember, this is 11 times x. So I really have this pattern right here. 2 things multiplied together that I can't simplify any further, raised to an exponent. Okay, so I'm going to be using property number 3 here. This 4th power gets put on each one. So this is 11 to the 4th power, x to the 4th power. 11 to the 4th power is not something they're going to want you to multiply out. Okay, so let's look here. 4 times v times w raised to the 5th power. There is something here that people mess up all of the time. Most of the time, my students recognize that it's going to be property number 3 because you have things multiplied together raised to an exponent, but they get quote-unquote distribute happy. This 5 does not go to this 4. If the 5 were supposed to go on the 4 would be inside the parentheses. That 4 stays the same. And then the 5 gets put on each of these. So this is v to the 5th, w to the 5th. All right. For this one, I have a fraction raised to a power. This is the easiest one to identify. What we do is we take this outer exponent and we apply it to the top and then to the bottom. This is property number 4. And this becomes r to the 4th over t to the 4th.